My friends, there are moments when the veil of ordinary life is pulled back, and we are startled by the voice of eternity breaking into our sleep. Dreams are not always mere wanderings of the mind. At times they are whispers from the kingdom of heaven, reminders that you were not born to stumble in the dark, but to walk in the light of divine purpose. If you have dreamed of standing at the edge of a mountain, gazing out at a horizon that seems both infinite and unreachable, understand this: God is telling you that your life is not meant to be small. The summit is high because the calling is great. The dream of the mountain is the dream of courage, a summons to climb higher when the world tells you to stay low. If you have dreamed of fire, whether burning in your hands, surrounding you, or falling from the sky, do not tremble as though you are unworthy. Fire in a dream is the mark of purification and power. It is the assurance that you are being refined, not destroyed. What others see as impossible, God declares possible through the fire that prepares and equips you. If you have dreamed of water, oceans stretching far beyond sight, rivers rushing with unrelenting force, or rain pouring down upon parched earth, then you have been shown abundance. God has chosen you to be a vessel to carry life where there is dryness. The rivers in your dream are not meant for you alone. They flow through you to the thirsty world. If you have dreamed of a great door, heavy and sealed, and yet your hand finds the strength to open it, know this: opportunity in the kingdom is not unlocked by wealth or status, but by faith. The dream of the door is the declaration that God has entrusted you with entry into places others said were closed forever. You are not chosen to watch at the threshold. You are chosen to enter. If you have dreamed of light piercing the darkness, flooding a room, or shining from within you, then remember this: the world is in desperate need of torchbearers. Light is not given to be hidden, but to expose, to guide, to heal. That light within your dream is not imagination, it is commission. God has chosen you to walk into shadows where others fear to tread, carrying hope that cannot be extinguished. If you have dreamed of flight, your feet leaving the earth, your body carried beyond limitation, your vision stretching farther than you believed possible, then understand that you were created for more than chains. The dream of flight is God's way of saying the laws of this world do not confine his children. Where others see barriers, he gives wings. You are called to soar above what binds, to rise where impossibility seemed final. And if you have dreamed of a crown, whether on your head, in your hands, or descending from heaven, do not dismiss it as pride. A crown is not for self-glory, but for service, not for domination, but for stewardship. The dream of the crown is God's seal upon your destiny. It is his way of reminding you that you are chosen, not by chance, not by accident, but by eternal design. So if any of these dreams have ever brushed against your soul, then hear this truth: God has chosen you. Not the stronger, not the wiser, not the more deserving, but you, chosen to step into the impossible, not by your strength but by his, chosen to face mountains, fires, rivers, doors, light, skies, and crowns, not as fantasies, but as symbols of the reality he has prepared for you. The impossible is not a wall, it is the doorway to your calling. You are chosen to walk through it. Dreams are divine signals, revealing God's calling and purpose for those he has chosen. When we speak of dreams, we must begin by realizing that not all dreams are random flickers of the mind, nor are they mere illusions brought on by the restless stirrings of the heart. There are certain dreams that carry with them a weight, a clarity, a sense of something more than imagination. They do not leave us quickly when we wake, but linger as though they belong not merely to the night, but to the eternal. These are not accidents. They are divine signals, gifts from the one who formed us, and they are placed before us to remind us that our lives are not empty wanderings. In these dreams, God speaks. In these dreams, he reveals a direction, a calling, and a purpose. When you dream of light in the darkness, when you see mountains, rivers, crowns, fire, or flight, understand that you are not simply experiencing the echoes of your mind, but are being handed a message wrapped in the imagery of heaven itself. God speaks in many ways, and throughout Scripture, dreams have been his chosen vessel of communication. Joseph dreamed of sheaves of wheat bowing down, and his brothers mocked him, but God was announcing a future that would change nations. Pharaoh dreamed of fat cows and thin cows, symbols of years of plenty and years of famine, and God revealed to Joseph the wisdom to prepare. Jacob dreamed of a ladder stretching to heaven, and he awoke trembling, realizing he had stumbled upon the very house of God. The prophets saw visions in the night, kings were warned, and servants were guided. If God spoke in dreams then, do you not see that he still does so now? He has not ceased to use the quiet hours of our rest to plant seeds of purpose in our spirits. He has not stopped signaling his people with images too vivid to be forgotten. The dreams that trouble you, the dreams that inspire you, the dreams that draw you nearer to something greater than yourself, these are not accidents, they are divine signals. The reality of a divine dream is that it never flatters. It does not indulge the ego, nor does it amuse the flesh. Instead, it pierces, it calls, it beckons, it demands a response. When you dream of standing before a vast mountain, it is not because your mind is entertaining itself with landscapes. It is because God is placing before you the symbol of your destiny, that there is more to climb, more to reach, more to conquer. When you dream of fire, it is not meant to terrify, but to remind you that what you are stepping into requires refining. When you see water flowing endlessly, you are being told that the Spirit of God is abundant, that his life will pour through you if only you do not resist. These signals are not there to confuse you, they are there to prepare you. They are messages that, once recognized, cannot be ignored without cost. For to ignore a divine dream is to turn your face away from a calling that was placed upon you before the foundation of the world. Dreams of divine origin awaken in us the sense that we are chosen. And what does it mean to be chosen? It does not mean comfort, it does not mean ease, and it certainly does not mean ordinary. To be chosen means that God has set his hand upon your life for a purpose larger than yourself. It means that he has seen in you not perfection, but potential surrendered to his will. It means that he has prepared works for you to walk in, and he signals them to you, sometimes gently, sometimes urgently, in the secret places of your sleep. A divine dream is a reminder that you are not forgotten, that you are not aimless, that the Creator of the universe has written your name into his plan. Consider this. Why does a dream stay with you long after the night has ended? Why does it haunt you, inspire you, trouble you? Because it was never meant to dissolve with the morning sun. It was planted in you like a seed, waiting to take root in your actions, in your faith, in your obedience. God uses dreams to bypass the noise of our waking hours. When the distractions of the day are silenced, when ambition and fear and busyness no longer drown his voice, he speaks. And when he speaks, he does so in images, in visions, in symbols that press upon the heart and cannot be shaken. The dream is not the end, it is the beginning. It is the divine spark meant to ignite a fire of obedience in the daylight of your choices. The truth is, many dismiss these signals. They wake, shrug, and say, it was only a dream. They explain it away as the mind wandering, as nothing more than imagination. But those who have ears to hear know better. They know that the language of dreams is one of God's most mysterious yet intimate ways of communication. They know that these signals cannot be brushed aside without consequence. To dismiss them is to silence the invitation of heaven. But to heed them, to pray over them, to ask God for wisdom, is to step into alignment with the very path he has laid out for you. Every divine dream carries a choice. You can either look at it and doubt, or you can look at it and discern. You can either ignore it and drift back into ordinary life, or you can lean into it and embrace the extraordinary. The dream is God's way of saying, here is what I have called you to, here is who I have chosen you to be, here is what you must prepare to do. The dream is a signal not for entertainment, but for action. It is heaven's way of saying, I have marked you, and now you must walk accordingly. Each dream carries a symbol of preparation, empowerment, and the breaking of human limitations. Each dream that God places within the soul is not simply a fleeting image meant to inspire wonder, but a symbol carrying layers of meaning, depth, and divine instruction. Dreams, in their truest form, are God's parables in the night, unfolding truths that cannot be ignored. Each one carries a sign of preparation, of empowerment, and of the breaking of human limitations. They are not empty pictures, but spiritual maps, directing you toward the greater reality of what God desires to accomplish through you. To understand this is to realize that no dream is meaningless when it comes from the one who speaks in whispers of eternity. The dream of the mountain is not a picture meant to intimidate, but to reveal the scale of the calling ahead. When God shows you a mountain, He is teaching you about endurance, patience, and courage. Mountains are never climbed in one step. They demand persistence, strategy, and the willingness to push beyond comfort. This dream is God's way of preparing you to endure hardship, to train your spirit for resilience, and to lift your eyes to higher ground. He does not place a mountain before you to frustrate you, but to strengthen you, to show you that what others believe to be impossible is simply another path for those He has equipped. The dream of fire, with its consuming intensity, carries both warning and promise. Fire in the natural world destroys, but in the spiritual realm it refines. When you dream of fire, it is God's way of telling you that you are being prepared for purification. Impurities cannot remain when His purpose is at stake. The flames you see are not for your harm, but for your empowerment, for they burn away what would hold you back and ignite within you a strength you did not know you possessed. This fire is the symbol of passion, courage, and divine zeal, the kind of energy that propels a chosen person into works that surpass natural strength. What others cannot endure, you will endure. What others fear, you will face, because the fire has already forged you into something new. The dream of water is one of God's richest and most ancient symbols. To see rivers flowing, oceans stretching endlessly, or rain falling in torrents, is to encounter the message of abundance and refreshing. Water is always tied to life, to cleansing, and to renewal. In such a dream, God is empowering you with the promise that He will pour out His Spirit through you, that your life will become a channel of blessing, that where there is dryness and barrenness, you will carry rivers of renewal. The water does not symbolize leisure but purpose. It is not merely for your thirst, but for the thirst of others. To be chosen and given such a dream is to be entrusted with the flow of life that others desperately need. When you see a door in your dream, whether locked, sealed, or mysteriously opening before you, you are seeing the symbol of opportunity. Human eyes often see obstacles where God has placed a threshold, but in the vision of the night, He reveals that what is impossible to man is not impossible to Him. A closed door in a dream does not mean denial. It means preparation. It means timing. It means you must approach in faith. And when the door opens, you are empowered to step into places others never imagined you would go. This dream is God's way of showing you that limitations set by the world cannot prevent His chosen from entering into their calling. The dream of light is the unveiling of identity and purpose. Light breaks into the darkness, exposing what was hidden and guiding those who cannot find their way. To dream of light shining from within you is to be reminded that you are not ordinary, that there is something planted in you by God that the world desperately needs. This light is empowerment in its purest form. It is courage when fear threatens to overwhelm, clarity when confusion clouds the way, and hope when despair reigns. Light is unstoppable, for even the smallest flicker drives back shadows. To be given this dream is to be told that you carry within you the very presence of God's purpose, and that no darkness in the world can overcome it. Flight in a dream is one of the clearest symbols of breaking limitation. To rise from the earth, to soar above obstacles, to see from heights that the natural eye cannot see, is to be shown that you are no longer bound by what binds others. In the dream of flight, God is empowering you with vision and freedom. You are no longer tied to the opinions of men, to the doubts of your past, or to the chains of fear. Instead, you are carried by the strength of the one who chose you, given the ability to see from above and to go beyond boundaries. Flight is not fantasy but prophecy. It speaks of the life that transcends the ordinary and steps into the impossible. The crown is perhaps the most direct symbol of all, for it speaks of identity, authority, and stewardship. To see a crown is to be reminded that you are chosen for responsibility, not for vanity. The crown is not given for self-glory, but for the service of others, for the carrying out of a mission that is bigger than your own ambition. It is God's seal of empowerment, His way of breaking the limitation of small thinking and reminding you that your life is part of His eternal design. The dream of a crown is the reminder that you are entrusted with influence and purpose, and that with such empowerment comes the calling to walk in humility, wisdom, and strength. Every symbol in these dreams is God's way of preparing you. Mountains train endurance, fire creates purity, water releases abundance, doors teach faith, light reveals identity, flight breaks limits, and crowns remind you of calling. None of these dreams are ordinary. Each one is a message designed to take you beyond yourself. They are His way of empowering you for tasks you cannot fulfill in your own strength, and breaking the limitations that you once believed were final. To be given such dreams is to be chosen for something greater, and each one is a divine invitation to rise, to endure, to be refined, to overflow, to step through, to shine, to soar, and to reign with the humility of one who has been entrusted with the impossible. Being chosen means stepping into the impossible, not by human strength, but by God's power. To be chosen by God is to be called into a life that defies the natural boundaries of human ability. It is not a call to live safely within the confines of what you know you can accomplish. It is an invitation to walk into the unknown where faith is your only anchor. The language of being chosen is the language of the impossible. It means that the ordinary calculations of strength, logic, and probability no longer apply, for God delights in displaying His glory through those who cannot claim credit for themselves. To be chosen is to be set apart to do what others say cannot be done, and it is through this very impossibility that His power is revealed. When we look at the pattern throughout history, those who were chosen were never the ones others expected. Moses was a stammering shepherd when he was called to confront Pharaoh, yet he carried the authority of heaven in his voice. Gideon considered himself the least in his family, from the weakest tribe, yet he was chosen to lead a handful of men against an innumerable army. David was a forgotten shepherd boy, overlooked by his own father, yet he was chosen to stand before giants and to rule a nation. Mary was a young girl from an obscure town, yet she was chosen to carry the Savior of the world. The pattern is clear. To be chosen is never about human qualification, but about divine appointment. God delights in selecting the least likely, so that His power might be made perfect in weakness. This is why being chosen inevitably involves the impossible. For if it were within your ability, you could boast in yourself, and the glory would be yours. But when the chosen one stands in the face of mountains too high, seas too wide, fires too fierce, and battles too great, and yet emerges victorious, the world cannot explain it apart from God. The chosen life is a testimony, a living witness that declares not I, but Christ in me. The impossible becomes the very stage upon which the faithfulness of God is displayed. But to step into this calling is not without its struggle. To be chosen means to be stretched, to be tested, to be brought to the end of yourself so that you may learn reliance on the one who called you. The chosen are often placed in deserts before they are placed in promised lands, in caves before they are placed in thrones, in prisons before they are placed in palaces. This is not punishment, it is preparation. The impossible is not only about the victories to come, but about the transformation of the chosen heart. Through hardship, the chosen one learns endurance. Through weakness, the chosen one learns dependence. Through trials, the chosen one learns faith. Without such shaping, the chosen would mistake calling for privilege rather than responsibility. To be chosen also means to carry a weight that others cannot carry. The chosen are entrusted with visions that others do not see, burdens that others do not feel, and responsibilities that others do not understand. This can be a lonely path, for not everyone will recognize the hand of God upon your life. Some will doubt you, some will resist you, some will even oppose you. Yet the chosen one is not sustained by the approval of people, but by the affirmation of heaven. The knowledge that God Himself has placed His mark upon you becomes enough to keep walking, even when the road is steep and the night is long. The impossible calling is not about achieving greatness in the eyes of the world, but about fulfilling faithfulness in the eyes of God. What He asks of you may seem small to others, yet it may be the very act that shifts eternity. To speak a word at the right time, to offer kindness to one who is forgotten, to step out in obedience when fear says stay still. These are the moments where the impossible unfolds. The chosen life is not measured by applause, but by obedience, not by recognition, but by faithfulness. The greatest impossibility is not to move mountains or part seas, but to surrender wholly to the will of God, and this is the mark of those He calls His own. It must also be understood that to be chosen is to become a vessel. The impossible is never accomplished by human striving, but by divine filling. When you are chosen, your strength is exchanged for His strength, your wisdom for His wisdom, your weakness for His power. The chosen one does not walk into battle alone. Heaven goes before, behind, and within. This is why the impossible becomes possible, because it is not you who does it, but God who does it through you. Your hands may build, but it is His Spirit that supplies. Your voice may speak, but it is His truth that pierces. Your steps may move, but it is His presence that carries. Being chosen also means living with expectation. The impossible is not a rare occurrence, but the natural environment of the chosen life. You are not meant to shrink back when the task seems beyond reach. You are meant to lean forward, for it is in the realm of impossibility that God shows Himself strongest. The Red Sea was impossible until it parted. The walls of Jericho were impossible until they fell. The cross was impossible until the tomb was found empty. So it is with you. The very thing that looks like a barrier is the place where God is preparing to reveal His power. And so the chosen must walk with courage, courage not born of self, confidence but of God, confidence, courage that knows the impossible is not a threat but an invitation, courage that understands that every dream given by God is larger than your own strength, but never larger than His. To be chosen is to walk forward when fear whispers retreat, to believe when doubt shouts louder, to act when impossibility looms like a mountain. The chosen life is the life of faith, and faith, by its very nature, deals in the currency of the impossible.